Well, hi again. Thanks for joining our channel. Appreciate it. We're just going to jump right into it. Today, we're going to talk about what I believe is the second most damaging influence, belief, or mindset on marriages today. And it's what I'm going to call marital idolatry. As I've said before, wrote a book on this entitled Just Love Her. It's on Amazon. Um, and the entire book is written about identifying and how to deal with the problem of marital idolatry. Um, the next cause we're going to look at will be the Genesis 3 curse. And I don't have a copy of that book yet, but it is on Amazon. And if you're interested, you could pick that up. It's called Is It God's Good Plan to Crush and Grieve You? And so check it out, but we'll be covering the material in that book during these talks as well. I recently talked to my best friend, Steve, of nearly 50 years now. And I don't remember where the conversation was going, but what he told me is he would have been able to spend more time with me when we were in college together if I hadn't been so hooked on going on dates. What he seemed to say was, excuse me, I spent too much time focusing on girls instead of our friendship. And then I believe as a result of that, we only had our freshman year together, and then he moved back to his home state of Georgia and went to a southern university. But I didn't know it then. I know it now, but to put it in secular or common language, I was addicted to women. To put it in Bible language, I had made an idol of women. I had found that when I was with a girl or later on a woman, and she thought I was valuable or worthwhile, then I felt valuable and worthwhile. And I want to quickly cover this real quickly. Why does that happen? Well, the reason it happens is because all of us have this God-shaped vacuum thing going on inside of us. And in so many different ways throughout our lives, we are looking for people, places, positions, possessions, things to fill that void. And when we find something that works, makes me feel alive, makes me feel loved, makes me feel valuable, significant, worthwhile, well, then we tell ourselves, and most of the time it's not conscious, but what's going on inside of us, well, wow, if a little is good, then a lot's got to be better. And then we spend too much time, too much money, too much daydreaming, too much effort, whatever, but we get out of balance, out of whack, and before we know it, and here it is, we make a higher priority of that person, place, position, possession, thing instead of God and Jesus. We run to that person or that thing before, more, or instead of Jesus and God. And ready, we've made an idol out of that thing or person. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. The problem also is that I carried this woman idol thing into my marriage. And again, when I got married, I didn't know that I had idolized women. I knew I really liked them. I knew that I really felt valuable when I was with them, but I didn't know I'd made an idol of them. And so then here's the problem with idols. Idols work until they don't. But the problem is eventually idols always don't work. Always. And then here's the other thing with idols. The longer they work, the harder they are to get rid of. And the longer they work, the more pain we'll experience when God takes them away. And he will take them away. Not out of meanness, but out of love. The first thing he says, in the Ten Commandments, the first one, have no other gods before me, or another, have no other idols before me. Why? Because we're hurting ourselves. Psalm 16 says, in his presence is fullness of joy, and at his right hand are pleasures forever. That's not possible in any other venue or avenue on earth. To have full pleasure and full joy only comes from God. Only. Now, we may experience all kinds of titillating, exciting, extreme things, but it's not the same, nor is it as fulfilling without negative repercussions. Having been a substance abuse counselor for 20 years, the things that people were shoving up their nose, their mouth, or their arm, sure they work, but there's all kinds of negative consequences that go along with them. Yes, there's all kinds of titillating and exciting things that we can do that are explosively exciting. But there's always a downside to those if God and Jesus aren't our number one priority. So then he either takes them away himself, or eventually we realize that they don't work anymore. Mine worked for a really long time. Mine worked for 40 some years. But the problem was that when I got married, my fantasy, my idol, stopped working. And one thing about fantasies and idols, they work until they get exposed. See, because when it's just in my dreams, when it's just in my thoughts, there's nothing that can confront that. I get to dream and fantasize, and there's nothing in my head that says that it can't be true. It's my dream, it's my fantasy, nothing can stop that until we actually get what we hoped for. That's why, in one sense, the most dissatisfied people in the world are those who have accomplished their goals. There's an initial rush of getting the goal or getting the fantasy, but either a short or long time afterwards, we start to realize that it doesn't satisfy or fulfill like we hoped it would. And why don't they satisfy and fulfill? Because they're not the real thing. Idols are smaller than God replacements. They're pseudo-gods. They're false gold. They look shiny, but they're not the real thing. And so they don't work. And the problem was, because I didn't know of my idolatry, I demanded that Lori be my idol, or my little g God, or my smaller than God person, to fulfill my fantasies. The problem was she wasn't able to. No person can be God. She was an amazing wife, a beautiful wife, gifted, gracious, and kind wife, but she wasn't God. And I wanted her to be God. And that's literally how I lost my marriage. Again, if this is your first one, you will have heard this before, but Lori and I were divorced for 7 years, and then God very graciously brought us back together in remarriage, and now we've been together for almost 20 years. So where I want to go with this, that's kind of my background, but where I want to go is Luke 14:25 to 35. And Jesus is talking to a large group of potential disciples. And what he's doing is giving the cure for any of the people in the crowd who have made idols of either important people in their lives or possessions. And I'm not going to get into possessions because that's not where I'm heading in these talks. But what he said in verse 26 was, if you want to be my disciple, you must by comparison hate everyone else. Direct quote. And I'm going to slow down and I'm going to let this one sink in. If you want to be my disciple, you must by comparison hate everyone else. Verse 26. And one of the relationships he listed was the relationship with our wife. It's right there. In other passages, God tells us that we need to love, respect, honor, serve, and view our wife as more important than ourselves. But here, what Jesus is saying in my words is, you must love me more than she. You must love me more than she. He straight out said, you can't have any people idols. You can't have any woman idols. You can't have any wife idols. You can't have any marriage idols. I have to be the one that you love more than any others. And it's real simple. If we have an idol, the Bible says you can't serve two masters. And if, as a disciple of Jesus, he's going to be telling us to do some really difficult things. He's going to tell us to go places that are very difficult. And if we have another master, our woman idol or wife idol, when things get hard, we'll cave into that idol and we'll do what she prefers, what she wants, or what we think we can get from that relationship, instead of going through and surrendering, obediently following our discipler, Jesus Christ. And the other thing I think is really important here is in this passage, this is the first criteria. This is the first criteria. He lists several others there, but the first criteria is you have to love me more than anybody else. So keeping this simple, if you want to be a disciple of Jesus, and I certainly hope you do, I don't know where you're at in regards to your Christian walk with God and Jesus, but the bottom line is, if we are Christians, we're a disciple of Jesus Christ. We're a follower of Jesus Christ. And so if you've never thought of that before, ask God to help you see that. It's all throughout. All you got to do is read the Gospels, read the prison epistles, almost read anywhere. We're a disciple of Jesus, and so if we want to be a disciple, we're going to have to love Him more than our wife. Now I'm gonna read this because I want to get this right. Being discipled by Jesus is more important than loving or being loved by my wife. I don't know if you've ever thought of that before, but taking seriously this Luke 14:26, just putting it practical and making the spiritual rubber meet the road, here it is. Being discipled by Jesus is more important than being loved or loving our wife. next. But as one of his disciples, I'll continue to genuinely love my wife, but I'll do it in a way that he wants me to love her. In the Bible, he tells us how to love our wife. So as a disciple, it's not like I'm going to drop my wife or be mean to my wife or disrespect her or divorce her because I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. No, as a disciple of Jesus Christ, my discipleship relationship with him comes first. My love relationship or marriage relationship with my wife comes second. And that's the biblical imperative. That's how it works. And so the way that he wants us to love our wife is to biblically hate her. To love her less than we love Jesus. And I'm going to throw this out. We're going to look at this next week or the next time we do a talk. But we're going to look at a simple test that'll help you help you see if you're being obedient to Jesus in regards to loving your wife less than your love for him. Okay? I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching. And as always, I want to close off by saying, hey, dare to hope. Dare to hope. Wherever you're at in your relationship, your marriage relationship with your wife, dare to hope. What God said was impossible for us is a walk in the park for him. So dare to hope. Okay? Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.